They weren't supposed to succeed. That's the truth people forget. Some managers walk into super clubs with unlimited budgets, world-class academies, and squads already built to win. But others start with scraps, shoestring budgets, relegation-level squads, fan bases begging for miracles. And somehow, against every odd, these managers built dynasties out of nothing. Stay with me, because the stories of how they did it are far more shocking than you think. Let's begin with the impossible rise of Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. When he arrived in 2015, Liverpool were not a European powerhouse. They were broken, humiliated, a club whose glory days felt permanently buried. Klopp didn't get to spend like Manchester City. He didn't inherit a team like Bayern Munich. Instead, he inherited chaos. But Klopp built a dynasty with something money can't buy: belief. He created a culture first, a mentality. Heavy metal football wasn't just tactics, it was identity. A style that forced players to run until their lungs burned, to press until the opponent broke. He took players doubted by everyone: Jordan Henderson, Sadio Mane, Andy Robertson, Mohamed Salah. Players other clubs dismissed as average or inconsistent, and he forged them into European champions. Klopp didn't buy a dynasty. He built one brick by brick, from emotion, intensity, and a city desperate for a resurrection. And the most curious part? It almost failed. Early on, Liverpool lost finals: Europa League, League Cup, Champions League. Each time, critics said, Klopp can't win. But he turned every failure into fuel. The comeback against Barcelona, the Premier League title after 30 painful years. A dynasty made completely from scratch and entirely from heart. But Klopp isn't alone. Consider the most astonishing managerial transformation in modern Premier League history: Crystal Palace under Oliver Glasner. Palace were one of those clubs stuck in the loop: survive relegation, reset, repeat. Nothing more. They didn't have superstar budgets. They didn't attract global icons. But Glasner rewired the club completely. He introduced a dynamic, aggressive system: fast transitions, structured pressing, tactical bravery. And he turned raw players into weapons. Ebereki Eze, Michael Ollis, Jean-Philippe Mateta, players with talent but no platform, suddenly became some of the most feared attacking threats in the league. Palace transformed from a team fighting to survive to a team fighting for Europe. Glasner didn't sign dozens of players. He didn't rip the squad apart. He simply elevated what was already there. That's the mark of a dynasty builder: not someone who spins, but someone who transforms. And then, there's Enzo Maresca at Chelsea, a club famous for chaos. A team drowning in transfers, struggling with identity, losing players faster than they developed them. When Maresca arrived, many believed he would fail. Too inexperienced, too idealistic, too obsessed with positional play. But Chelsea didn't need another superstar manager. They needed an architect, someone who could bring order to madness. Maresca introduced structure, defined roles, controlled possession, patient build-up, bravery in tight spaces. And the effect was immediate. Young players like Cole Palmer, Enzo Fernandez, Nicholas Jackson, once inconsistent, began to flourish in a system finally built for their strengths. Maresca's Chelsea didn't become a dynasty overnight. But he laid the foundation, the identity, the blueprint. And every dynasty begins with a blueprint. But no story of building from nothing is complete without talking about the master of miracles: Claudio Ranieri at Leicester City. The greatest underdog achievement in football history. Leicester's title triumph wasn't just shocking, it was impossible. Ranieri inherited a squad predicted to finish 18th. But he saw what no one else saw. He turned Jamie Vardy, a non-league striker, into a Premier League record breaker. Riyad Mahrez, signed for £400,000, into the league's best player. N'Golo Kante, unknown, unnoticed, into a global phenomenon. Leicester didn't outspend the league. They outworked it. And Ranieri didn't rely on luck. He built chemistry so strong that every player knew every movement before it happened. A dynasty that lasted only one season, but changed football forever. Because it proved money doesn't build miracles. Managers do. Curious yet? Because the next story is even more unbelievable. Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid didn't just build a dynasty. He built one while standing between two giants: Real Madrid and Barcelona. His transfer budget was tiny compared to theirs. Yet he created a team so fearless, so intense, that even the biggest clubs feared facing them. Charisma became a mentality, a philosophy of suffering, defending, fighting for every inch. Players like Koke, Saul, Griezmann, Felipe Luis, Oblak, none were global superstars when they arrived. Simeone crafted them into warriors. And he broke the big club monopoly, La Liga champions, Champions League finals, domestic dominance, built entirely from grit. And what about Arsene Wenger at Arsenal? People forget, he didn't inherit a dynasty. He created one. Wenger revolutionized English football, diet, training, scouting, tactics. He signed unknown players from France and Africa, turning them into legends. Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, Robert Pires. With a restricted budget during the stadium move, Wenger kept Arsenal in the Champions League every single year. Consistency, identity, youth development. A dynasty built on intelligence, not spending. Another curiosity spike, Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. Yes, Barcelona were big, but his squad wasn't the super team people remember. Ronaldinho, Deco, and Eto'o were leaving. The club was unstable. Pep took a risk. He threw his faith into La Masia kids, Busquets, Pedro, and a young Lionel Messi. Pep didn't build a dynasty with money. He built it with courage, with trust, with an idea of football so beautiful it changed the world. But here's the deeper truth behind all these stories. Dynasties aren't built by money. They're built by vision, by managers who see what others can't, who trust players others doubt, who build cultures instead of chasing shortcuts. Klopp at Liverpool rebuilt identity. Glasner at Palace unlocked hidden potential. Maresca at Chelsea imposed structure on chaos. Ranieri at Leicester created the impossible. Simeone at Atletico built warriors from scraps. Wenger at Arsenal shaped an era through philosophy. Guardiola at Barcelona elevated football itself. Different managers, different clubs, same pattern. Dynasties rise when someone believes in a dream others consider foolish. And here's the most interesting part. Every great dynasty starts with doubt. Klopp was doubted. Ranieri was mocked. Simeone was underestimated. Wenger was laughed at. Maresca was criticized before he coached a single match. Glasner was unknown to most fans. But they all shared one trait. They built, even when no one believed. They trusted their ideas more than the world's opinion. They developed players when others wanted new signings. They created systems when others wanted shortcuts. They fought for their clubs when others walked away. So the next time you see a struggling club with average players and a manager under pressure, pause. You might be looking at the beginning of the next football dynasty. Because greatness doesn't always begin with superstars. Sometimes it begins with nothing at all. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want more powerful stories about football's unseen truth.